Not since the last presidential election have I seen so much bitterness and righteousness towards something until the Supra came out. And while I certainly don't agree that this is the true successor to the Supra name, I've been driving it for a little while and I like it a lot. And I want to share with you what I like about it and why I like it. Let's talk about what I don't like about this car first, because I'm sure that's why you're all here, because everyone likes to hate on the Supra. So, two things that bother me immediately. Number one, some of the materials in this car. Now, I don't really care about the dashboard. The doors have some, attempting to be soft, hard plastics. Not a big deal to me, but the steering wheel. I wish they gave this a really nice steering wheel. This is the premium Supra, so it's that middle grade. It's not the launch edition and it's not the base. But I wish this had like a really supple leather wrap steering wheel or Alcantara, but that's an easy thing to swap out. You can do that at your leisure. I'm sure there's an aftermarket to support that, or if there's not right now, there will be soon. Number two, and this is a big one, the buffeting from the windows drives me nuts. I like to drive with the windows down, and I kind of can't do that in this car. When I do roll the windows down, at about 55, 60 miles an hour, I just get the worst buffeting imaginable. And if this car had a sunroof, we wouldn't have that problem. So if you're a windows down kind of driver, this may be a monster problem for you. The interior is actually like a very nice place to be. These seats are snug, they're not racing seats. This is a proper Grand Tourer, and it's a proper Grand Tourer in the way that, say, a 350 or 370Z would be, except that this car is a lot more comfortable. Those cars definitely suffer from that, $26,000 syndrome when, a 350Z was ultra cheap when it was new. This is a $55,000 car, and you definitely get the feeling that you're in a $55,000 car. There's a couple things that I'd like to touch that, maybe aren't piano black or hard plastic, but to be honest, you're in a price range where that's what you're gonna get. I think a lot of people like to think $60,000 buys them the world. It does not. A base M3, you're still looking at 60 grand, but the reality is anytime you buy a new M3, you're gonna be in that 75, 80 range. It's just the way it goes. And even then, those materials aren't the most amazing thing in the world. But the real peach of this car, and complain as they may, is the BMW powertrain. I think a lot of people like to complain about it. They like to say Toyota should have built their own platform, and I tend to agree with that. I think it's weird that Toyota, one of the biggest manufacturers in the world who has tons of money, didn't go out and do that, but that's besides the point, and there's plenty of Facebook fighting you can watch to get that out of your system. But this B58 is so delicious, tied to this 8-speed ZF. And it does a really good job of finding grip. I am thrilled with the way this thing corners. We've got this brilliant chassis. We've got a nice, enjoyable street-tuned suspension. Oh my God. Thank God Toyota did this. This isn't like a Nürburgring lap time record car, so I can actually go out and drive this car and enjoy it without feeling the misery of every bump in the road. I can daily this car. This engine's sweet spot is kind of in that high mid-range area, so anywhere between like 4,000 and 6,000 RPM. It's a very happy bunny, and it'll get you out of the hole really quick too, so that's not an issue. B58, very nice. But that's where tuning's gonna come in with this car, because when you do get it on the highway and you're winding it out, you do notice that the top end doesn't pull like a freight train. You don't like get excited to get up to that red line and upshift. When it upshifts, you're greeted with lowering that RPM and finding that juicy torque again. Okay, actually there's three things I don't like. I can't see anything out of this car. That blind spot's really bad. Dynamically, I'm a little surprised because there's at least two things I was expecting to hate. Number one was the steering. BMW steering has been a huge letdown recently, and I especially hated when the 228 came out. Driving it on the highway just driving in a straight line was difficult. It like wanted to wander. The M2, when I drove that, felt like, all right, we've taken care of this, or at least the M2 competition, and this is no different. It really has stepped up. So although no, it's not a hydraulic rack that feels ultra responsive, it's not totally numb. So you will be able to enjoy this. The second thing dynamically that I was expected to hate are the brakes. I don't hate them, but I don't love them. I think a pad slap would go a long way, and that's exactly what people like Jackie Ding are doing to get these out on the track. And I'm not going to do an illegal U-turn here because I'm a good boy. See what I mean about this gearbox? Fast, lightning fast shifts, really good. I'm very into it. I like it a lot. This gearbox really it operates like a DCT as far as the user is concerned, and it's very fast, and it also it's not clunky in traffic, very easy to drive, very comfortable, and like this is just such a nice place to be. I really don't see how you could compare a C8 Corvette to this car, because I would not buy a C8 Corvette. Let me get out of sport mode here, kind of annoying. All right, put me back in 8th gear, thank you Supra. And I'm still getting 20 miles per gallon, and I'm kind of just romping on it a little bit. I don't see how the C8 Corvette would be a good daily driver. It's a proper sports car. You could argue that it has some Grand Touring characteristics, and that's fine, but this is really a car meant to get on the highway and drive for a long time, and it's comfortable. So again, I think it's just apples and oranges, and the internet is really mistaken in comparing the two cars, other than the fact that it's similar money. But a lot of things cost similar money, and a lot of people go to certain places. So my number one issue with like me owning this car, because I was looking into it, is that I don't want to have to deal with explaining myself to people all the time. Why'd you buy a Supra? You know, like that's exhausting. I almost want to fly under the radar. But for anyone who does buy the Supra, I've got your back, because this is a really nice car to be in, and it does a lot of things really well. Hopefully we can figure out why there's so many fake vents on the car, and maybe change up this steering wheel to something like super premium, so every time you get in you feel like you're in something really expensive. But otherwise, this chassis is fantastic. Pad slap it for the track. It's already got 255s up front, 275s in the rear, so you've got plenty of room to upgrade to like a Nitto NT01 or something really exciting on the track, and you're ready to go. So that's my take on the Supra. I think the meme wars are stupid. I think it makes no sense to compare this car to a C8 Corvette other than price, and this is like the ultimate bachelor daily driver, where you don't have to have kids in the back seat. You can just enjoy it. And if you really like, if this is as sporty as you want to go, I know my dad, for example, he's in his 60s. He doesn't really want a stiff sports car. He thinks he does, and then I put him in one, and he's like, oh my god, my back. This car isn't going to do that to you. This car is actually like a comfy car, and it is sporty. So there you go. It's a car for everybody. Stop complaining about the Supra. It's pretty sweet. Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing, and a huge shout out to V, any moto guy. I'm going to put his Instagram down below. It was really nice of him to give me this car for the day, and I've been having a blast with it. Lots of looks, lots of people pointing, and mostly smiles. So probably not people who have C8 orders in. Toyota did a weird job of marketing this car, and it's not because it was the successor to the old Supra, but I think buyers today love to put horsepower per dollar figures on things. So that's what makes a Corvette, a C7 Grand Sport, really appealing to a lot of folks, because you get it really cheap, especially with discounts, because no one actually is buying them. And then you've got Mopar, where you've got a hell Hellcat, you can get into a 700-800 horsepower car for under $100,000. Then you come over to the Supra, and we're nowhere near those figures. And it's not fair to compare this to that. And I think there's a great charm in low horsepower cars. And hear me out here. I love the C63 AMG. I love it. But when you breathe on the throttle out of a corner, it wants to spit you out very hard. And I know that on the internet we love torque and we love excessive power, but on a back road, it's really nice to be able to use your car to its full potential.